No tiers plus low level equals siege mode Space Marine 2. No tiers, I think he's referring to prestige perks right there. Brothers, I love you all, but for the Emperor's sake, please don't enter siege mode on hard unless you're max level and max tier. You're ruining the purge for yourselves and for the brothers fighting at your side. The Emperor protects. Alright, so hard mode. You need max prestige for it? Not 100% sure about that. I do agree with max level. Max level, or at the very least as close as you can get to max level, there are definitely some obviously important perks on the, later ends of your skill tree, essentially. Now, for hard mode specifically, I think there are definitely some perks that you probably should have if you want to push later waves, like Unmatched Zeal, something like that. Secure Stockpile, also pretty good. However, you can get Unmatched Zeal at, like, level 14. You can get Secure Stockpile, also pretty low level. I do think there are some perks that feel a little bit more necessary, that are a little bit, harder to get. For example, the Assault perks. When you slam down and you get a slam kill, you can get your cooldown back. Now, that one is not early on the skill tree for Assault class. That is definitely later down the line. So some perks are definitely, a bit stronger in hard siege mode. Obviously referencing the Assault class's slam perk as well. When it comes to hard siege mode and the requirements for max level, max tier, I do think that's a little bit harsh. However, it's really hard to argue against it in the sense that if you are max level and prestige 4, yes, you're going to notice a difference. Now, I do think what is unfortunately happening with hard siege mode, I've heard that players are jumping in just to grind waves 1 through 5. Now, I haven't played much hard siege mode recently. The last experience I've had with it, I think I was playing either the Assault class or the Bulwark. I beat hard siege mode wave 15 on both PC and console. I beat hard mode wave 15 with heavy, with tactical, with Bulwark and sniper and the Assault class. I pretty much everything besides Vanguard, I think, at this point. Something like that. I've also really enjoyed wave 25 on normal siege mode. That's very fun, but I've gotten to that point without dying a few times, so hard siege mode is definitely probably going to be a mode that I will be committing to quite a bit soon, but we will see. We will see. Regardless, siege mode is very fun, so I'm enjoying my time with siege mode. I do enjoy my time playing off meta as well, so I do think normal siege mode is it's easier to approach with an off meta build, because hard mode, like I said, definitely ages a bit better if you're prepared for it. But yeah, seriously, I get it. Players jumping into hard siege mode, underleveled, is a problem. This is not the only post we've seen from it, especially recently. Players are getting kind of sick of this thing. Please take experience out of hard siege mode for the love of the Golden Throne. Level 16 Assault, no team perk, uses the Dreadnought on level 9, leaves at level 10. Yeah, I agree. The thing about hard siege mode, for me, at least, it doesn't feel like it was built to be grinded in that way. I don't think it was built for low levels, is what I'm trying to say. And obviously, I don't think the devs intended it to just be a mode you jump in for a couple of waves and then leave. No. Hard siege mode is seriously supposed to be the hardest content in the game. You can seriously spend way too much time playing hard siege mode. That's the one thing that I'm a little worried about with it. It's like, when I want to jump into hard siege mode, you literally have to, like, take 2 hours of your day and set it aside. For me, that's like a little bit difficult. It depends. Some days are easier said than done, obviously. But yeah, here's the thing with the experience gain from hard siege mode. I think if you take it out, I understand. Yeah, I mean, dude, to be honest, I think this is a harsh change, but it might be a change that is worth it, to be completely honest. We'll jump into the comments to see how people feel about this one. But yeah, obviously this situation feels a little bit too casual for hard siege mode, and I don't think this is what the devs intended. As far as jumping into hard siege mode without a team perk, getting to level 10, using the Dreadnought a bit early, and then leaving. Yeah, no, that sounds very bad. that doesn't sound well designed for hard siege mode. Yeah, they should do something. For example, absolute operations. You can't just join an absolute op. To do that, you must play lethal first. My suggestion: to play hard siege mode, you should finish normal siege first. Finish could be reach wave 20 or reach wave 25. I would say wave 15 is fine. I think wave 15 is like a good point to say, okay, we beat normal siege mode. That's fair. See, when it comes to hard siege mode, though, beating wave 15 is how you get the helmet, which is fine. But I think for most players, for hard siege mode, that's the mode where you kind of want to go as far as you can, and then see the see the defeat screen at the end of the run. I think a lot of people are satisfied with that with hard siege mode. With normal siege mode, I think people are really trying to look for like a finishing point. At least I do. When I jump into normal siege mode, I do try to aim for wave 25. But again, I can understand where not everyone has that time. So I would say wave 15 for normal siege mode should be fine. But yeah, for hard siege mode, I feel like a lot of people just want to jump into hard siege mode and see how far they can push. If they end up, seeing the defeat screen around wave 18, I think they enjoy their time there. So, I mean, I know I do. I really enjoy siege mode. Again, it's just very time consuming. An alternative, you could just put level caps such as you must be level 25 to play hard siege mode. I mean, obviously something like that would work. Sheesh. Maybe it's a level 25 cap. Maybe it's a take away all the experience situation. Regardless, I do think a lot of people understand that something needs to change about it. I'm not too sure how good the grind is for waves 1 through 5 for a new player. And it's like, not to mention, you're not even going to enjoy yourself. I think grinding in this game, if you're actually enjoying it, it really does kind of take a lot of the grind away if you're actually enjoying what you're doing, So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to hard siege mode, I just really hope that the devs keep an eye on it. I do think the devs should rework the way it matchmakes 100%. Like, dude, you really shouldn't jump into hard siege mode and then play like a casual in the sense that it's like, okay, wave 5, I'm done. Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's a normal siege mode thing. People are coping in here saying how high-level play is worse than low-level. There's always outliers, but the vast majority of newbies are inexperienced or pure dog water compared in a new mode in which they have no clue how to deal with these spikes, the difficulty spikes. Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, you definitely need experience to deal with difficulty spikes. But, dude, to be honest, waves 1 through 5, you kind of avoid the harsh difficulty spikes. I mean, honestly, there would be a difficulty spike if you did waves 1 through 5 on Tyranids and then went to wave 6 with Chaos. For hard mode, there's definitely a difficulty jump, I would say. Plus, they don't have the proper team perks to help you get to a higher level. The lobies, have a hard time to get to 5 without kissing the floor multiple times. Comparing that to Prestige 4 max level weapons with the right perks is night and day, and yet people will equate them somehow. So the sentiment this comes from is the skills matter, not your level. I think it is kind of... They're more relevant than you think, I believe, for the most part when it comes to hard siege mode, just from the examples I detailed out in the beginning of this video, talking about perks that you get later down in the tree. Like, for example, again, the assault class's slam perk. Well, you can't really skill your way into getting cooldown if you don't have the perk. So I do think it's like, you need to know your character. That's basically the gist. So to understand your character, you need experience on your character. So yes, the player who has Prestige 4 level 8 is going to probably understand their class a little bit more than the non-Prestige level 16. I think that's fair. I definitely think that is a fair assessment. So in one sense, it's like, oh, the level doesn't matter, but it's like, yeah, but he's Prestige 4, so he's not only level 8. He's like, what, level 108? You know what I mean? So it is pretty interesting the way people can see this, but ultimately, when it comes to hard siege mode, I haven't seen anybody who jumped into hard siege mode low level without a team perk. I have not seen that person in wave 15 hard siege mode yet. I've seen that person leave at wave 5. I've seen that. That's exactly the type of thing that we're trying to avoid here. When it comes to playing hard siege mode specifically, I think it's kind of like if you queued up for a raid. You should commit to an end game level content and also commit for a fair amount of time. I never kick players unless they're actively griefing, but yeah, this is genuinely a problem. Pretty much every hard siege game I've loaded into has had a player with no team perks, typically level 1. They die often. And I'm keen to roll past wave 15 into the juicy fun waves, and it's basically like running by a solo if one of these guys is on your team. Okay, yeah, I can understand why that's frustrating for normal siege mode. Now, for normal siege mode, I have seen people without team perks. For normal siege mode, I think there's points where it's like, oh, one of our teammates drop out, right? Or if there's somebody on your team who needs to be carried. I think that's a lot easier to play around. If there's at least 2 players on the siege mode team in normal that know what they're doing, I think they can carry somebody. When it comes to hard siege mode, I just don't think it's very satisfying to do that, like, to be completely honest. I'm keen to roll past wave 15 into the juicy fun waves, and it's basically like running by solo if one of these guys are on your team. Yeah, dude, endless waves, nah. Like, see, that's the one thing. For normal siege mode, beating wave 15 with somebody who needs to be carried, I think that's fair. That's a fair time to leave and everything like that. I mean, it's fair to leave a normal siege mode if you have to carry a player whenever, especially if they don't have a team perk. But when it comes to endless waves, yeah, no, no. Endless waves is a different beast when it comes to, you know, siege mode. So, yeah, I agree. Having somebody on your team without a team perk basically prohibits you, in a sense, to go as deep as you wanted. It's frustrating because siege is a ridiculous time investment. Hour and a half more to get to 20. Yeah, no, definitely something like that. It is pretty ridiculous. I really hope the devs can do something about the time they're there, to be completely honest. But as far as for me with the time, with the siege mode, if we're on the subject, regardless, anything after wave 15, I don't care if it takes long. The build up to wave 15, it takes way too long. Like, waves 1 through 5 are basically free if you know what you're doing. in normal siege mode. For hard siege mode, I think time should be left as is, I guess. It still gives that, like, you know, expansive endgame content that you have to commit to. But regardless, for normal siege mode, I don't think people are really, you know, expecting a punishing experience, at least for waves 1 through 5. So if they could just cut down the time, that'd be great. Oh, sheesh. I'm not too sure they will ever do that. And honestly, if I'm onto something there, let me know in the comments. If you have a better idea how to save time in siege mode, let me know in the comments. This might be a topic we return to, maybe. Saber needs to just put a level cap on siege. For operations, I can live with carrying someone for a half an hour, but siege just takes too long. This, or let the low levels leave at wave 5, but let players join on later waves. Yeah, no, seriously, if it's not level locking hard siege mode, at the very least, they need to make sure they allow players to jump back in, because that's the thing. That's the other thing about hard siege mode and low levels, is normally they find a spot where it's like, okay, I got my grind, time to jump into the next hard siege mode run and absolutely brick this run. Yeah, no, seriously, because they'll leave at wave 5, wave 10, and then it's like, it's hard siege mode. We're trying to at least get to wave 15. So if you have too many players joining hard siege mode and leaving way too early, yeah, that's going to leave a lot of players dissatisfied with the state of hard siege mode. And yes, I understand sometimes we talk about this subject a little bit too often, but we haven't talked about it for a bit, and I still keep seeing posts pop up about it. So we have to get this one through to the devs, to be completely honest. So, yeah, much like how we did it with Spore Mines, how we did it with Matchmaking, how we did it with the Assault class, this may be a topic that is discussed as far as people are annoyed by it. as in people are annoyed by the actual subject that we're talking about. So, yeah, I definitely try my best to, you know, keep complaining down to a minimal. However, this is definitely a issue with hard siege mode that is negatively affecting a large portion of the player base, because eventually you're going to get to the point where normal siege mode just doesn't scratch the itch anymore, and you need to play hard siege mode, and it's going to be very, very dissatisfying, and it's also going to be deflating. The matchmaking to hard siege mode, expecting to play with some players that know what they're doing, to just see a level 4 and a level 3 without team perks ready to queue up for hard siege mode. I've seen this multiple times. This is very annoying and definitely needs to be changed. So yeah, definitely wanted to revisit the subject since I've seen multiple posts within this 24-hour span talking about how terrible it is to matchmake into hard siege mode with low-level players. Yeah, it is a problem. So if it does come off like complaining a little bit too much, I am sorry, but this is a subject that we do have to cover because I, too, am dissatisfied with the matchmaking for hard siege mode specifically. And it is also a little bit disappointing that the devs didn't anticipate this, considering that they actually difficulty locked absolute, and hard siege mode is definitely harder than absolute. So that doesn't really make sense. So in the times where we covered devs, maybe forgetting what they said in the past and then going back on something they said or whatever, this is still the same thing. The devs definitely need to step up for hard siege mode and just adjust it so players can confidently matchmake into hard siege mode, expecting a hard siege mode experience, not expecting lethal light waves 1 through 5 to just level somebody up. That's not hard siege mode. That's not endgame. Leveling up is not endgame. I would go as far as to say maybe even absolute needs to cut its experience, but I would not. I would not want to go that far because jumping into absolute level 12 definitely saves a lot of time when you're prestige 3 or prestige 4. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. Yes, again, I understand we talked about this quite a bit, but definitely want to revisit this because I've seen a lot of people complain about this one. I've seen a lot of people criticize this one. And yes, the devs should adjust something to make it less appealing for casual players to jump into the hardest content in the game. Like, dude, seriously, I can't stress enough how overlooked this problem is. But okay, yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this, and thanks for watching.